Well, hey everybody, Alex here with another cup of coffee video. And we have a pretty special episode today with a unique set, a pretty gorgeous set. This is the Negro League's Centennial Team Postcard set. This was just released this year to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the start of the Negro Leagues. This set was a fan-voted set. It was put together on a Facebook page, Negro Leagues History. There were 5 additional players that were actually added by the organization. All the artwork featured in the set was done by Craig Kreindler. His artwork is very prominent in the world of baseball. And I came across this set online and pretty much just sought it out as soon as I could. Some of the names are going to be household names. Some of the guys ended up playing in the majors. But there's going to be a lot of players that are perhaps unfamiliar to the average baseball fan. And to me, that's exactly what's really exciting and interesting about the set, is that there's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about players from the Negro Leagues era. So the set includes 32 individuals in total. There are 30 players. There's 1 manager and there's 1 owner featured in the set. The back of every postcard includes a brief look at the player's history. You know, a lot of these guys played on several teams and also did a lot of barnstorming and would even go down to Cuba, for example, to play during the off-season. The set also includes a title card and a checklist card, and the individual that you're going to see featured the most is going to be Rube Foster, who of course was a huge part of what actually got the Negro Leagues organized in 1920. So I decided to highlight 5 separate players from this set and kind of take a look at the individuals and learn a little bit about what that player's career was like. Some of the players are players that I had heard of before, but several of them are guys that were new to me and that I found interesting. So let's take a look. Okay, so first up is Leonard. He played from 1934 to 1950, and he's portrayed here in his Aquadilla Sharks uniform, which was a winter ball team that he played with in Puerto Rico. This guy was described as a versatile pitcher. He was also a position player. At one point in the mid-1940s, there were rumors that the Pittsburgh Pirates were going to be integrating their team, and Leonard was basically at the top of the list of potential players that might be the first African-American player to play Major League Baseball for the Pirates. Unfortunately, those tryouts never happened. He was a 7-time All-Star. He won the Negro League World Series in 1946. And, by the way, he also served in World War II. He landed in Normandy on Utah Beach. Okay, so the next player, Andrew Rube Foster. This is a guy that I've done a lot of reading on. Most of the time, people talk about what he did in terms of organizing the Negro Leagues, but this guy was a heck of a player as well. He was definitely known for his pitching, and at one point, towards the end of his career, started managing and then ultimately owning the Chicago American Giants. The guy was responsible for getting all the other teams into a room to figure out how to organize and make a league out of it. That all, of course, happened in 1920. The league blossomed really quickly, a lot due to his leadership. Really interesting character in baseball history. Rube Foster had a lot of ambition, and there are a lot of hints that he had goals to get the Negro Leagues integrated with Major League Baseball. There were a lot of proposals on the table to have Negro League teams play Major League teams in Chicago, but elsewhere around the country. Unfortunately, he died in a rather tragic way. He had some psychological issues. There's some hints that perhaps he had some form of dementia. After his passing, the league really took a hit, but nevertheless, huge accomplishments in his lifetime. Okay, everybody knows this guy, but there's always new things to learn about players that you think you know pretty well. The thing that I enjoyed reading about Satchel is that really, really early in his career, there's evidence of integrated games. For example, in 1934, the Denver Post sponsored a baseball tournament, and it included semi-pro and independent league players. And in 34, they opened it up to black players. Paige played for the Colored House of David, and the manager of that team at the time was Hall of Famer Grover Cleveland Alexander. Paige also did some barnstorming with Bob Feller in 1946. Okay, here's John Pop Lloyd. This guy was a pretty remarkable player from all evidence. He played from 1906 to 1932, known as being one of the greatest shortstops. He played for a lot of teams, including the Cuban ex-Giants, the Chicago American Giants, which is Foster's team, the New York Lincoln Stars, the Harlem Stars, among others. When he was in Cuba, he was known as El Cuchara, which means the shovel or the spoon. He was known for scooping up the dirt and pebbles along with the ball as a shortstop. John McGraw would be really interested in recruiting this guy, and Babe Ruth once said that he thought Pop Lloyd was the greatest player that he had ever seen. Okay, and the last player I'm going to feature today is Jose Mendez. Mendez played from 1910 to 1925. He was known as Cuba's Black Christy Mathewson, or the Black Diamond. This guy had a rising fastball and a curve. He started his career in Cuba and then played in the Negro Leagues for several teams, including the All Nations team, which was an integrated team that had white players, black players, Japanese players, and Native American players. He played for the Chicago American Giants as well and the Kansas City Monarchs. And this was another player that John McGraw was definitely regretful that he wasn't able to recruit for the Giants. So I think there's a lot to enjoy about this set. Obviously, first and foremost is probably the artwork. I think it's gorgeous, and it's really cool to see all of these players together. I also really like that it can inspire baseball fans to kind of dig into the history of these players, learn a little bit more. I think, all of us here on YouTube, we're fans of the game, we're fans of its history. We all have our favorite teams and players, but I personally never get tired of learning about new elements of the game. I've really enjoyed going through these cards and sort of absorbing all of the information I can about these players and their lives, and I definitely recommend looking into this set if you're at all interested. In terms of finding it, if you want to go to negroleagueshistory.com, you'll find it on there. You'll also find it if you go to the Negro Leagues Museum site. They have some suggested donations where some of the rewards for those donations might include items like this set. And of course, doing a donation to the Negro Leagues Museum, I think, is a great idea. Hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at these cards. We'll kind of wrap it up here and let you take a look at the rest of them. Certainly look forward to the comments that will get some conversation started. So until next time, guys, take care. Talk to y'all soon.